Lovely. So when I start these interviews, these chats, I don't want to call them interviews, these chats, I like to kind of start with the statistics of the person that I'm having this chat with. And in this case, I would like to ask you, I'm going to try and do this like you. And I want you to tell me how good I do it, okay? Because you have a very particular way of doing this, and I want to see if I can nail it down, okay? So, here we go. This is the most stressed I've ever been in one of these chats, okay? Okay, here we go.
I thought this was supposed to be casual.
It is, but I've made myself stressed. I got a little up to the hype here.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Hi there, and welcome to Searching for Pixels. It's like the Andrew Marr show, but less political. My guest today...
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, getting there.
I mean, the thing with me is that I do a lot of takes of just the high. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, so basically when I'm sitting down, my wife is constantly laughing in the background of all my audio because I'm just going, hi, hi, hello, welcome back, hi, and welcome to the Sid course. And then I'll redo it one more time and then kind of get into the swing of things. It's just that the very first time you say hi just sounds a bit weird and harsh. And in the audio waveforms, it's always a bit wrong. Mm-hmm. So you kind of you repeat it a few times and then you get the best take.
Oh, that's great. I know what you mean about that. Like, I get very self-conscious in my house because there's somebody else here as well. And sitting down in the same room doing stuff like this, I'm like, oh, they can hear me. Like, put headphones on while I do this. I don't want you listening.
I mean, this is literally happening right now for me. Actually, the one thing that I do to get my wife to go to the other room is, so in one of the scripts that I'm currently working on, I mispronounce one of the characters' names in the game in such a way that, and I do it so seriously, that she can't help but just start laughing and she has to go.
And does she appear up on the audio, or do you have to, can you edit it out, or is it not too bad?
I can edit it out, but I mean, I'll just redo that line again.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she's throwing me the finger right now, but,
Oh, very nice. And where are you right now? Are you in the UK? Or
I am.
Are you somewhere else? Okay, very nice.
So
Whereabouts?
In London, literally right next to Wembley Stadium.
Oh, wow. Lovely. I was guessing from the accent, and also a picture you put on Twitter about a week ago of there was a cheeky Nando's in the corner. I was thinking, this guy, judging from the picture, he might be in Europe somewhere, probably England, with a Nando's in the corner.
I mean, it says London on my profile on Twitter, no?
Oh, maybe I missed that bit.
I thought you collected stats and stuff, man.
I do. I've got all the stats here and all these questions, but the obvious stuff eludes me, apparently. My God. Yeah, it does say London. Wow.
But saying that, Eurothug 4000, or shall we just call her by her name, because I sound like an idiot when I say that, Maria, she thought I was from New Zealand. And that's purely based on the fact that I send nice messages to Mitch every now and then in public because his entire aesthetic is the sad boy. And sometimes you can't tell if he's joking or if he's just leaning into the aesthetic or if he's actually being serious. So I'll send him a bunch of positivity. And for some reason, based on these strange interactions, and even after watching all of my videos, she thought I was from New Zealand. And I was like,
New Zealand?
We live in this... Yeah, we literally live in the same city. We have the same accent.
Maybe it's from the videos because your style of speaking is a bit more pronounced and enveloped. Maybe that threw her off a little bit.
I mean, that's purely because I have a stutter.
Ah, okay. And so you speak to Mitch sometimes, and Eurothug, as you were saying. Are there many other YouTubers that you speak to regularly? Because with your sharing nostalgia video you made not too long ago, there were quite a lot of YouTubers that were adding in their opinions and their thoughts to your video. Are there many others that you collaborate with and speak to that often?
It's a strange one, really, because I don't know if we're friends or if we're kind of like colleagues or peers. Like there is a mutual respect between like people like Raz, Mitch, Maria, Isaac, Matt, and like that, and obviously the whole kind of ecosystem, if you will. There's a mutual respect, and I know a lot of them are friends. I don't know. I find myself to be more of a kind of outsider because I don't exactly like hang out in their Discord channels or talk to them on a constant, regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, it's like, I mean, I'd love to be friends with them, like on that kind of level. I just have so much other stuff, and I don't know how to incorporate these people into my life. Like, in terms of, I mean, for the most part, I just watch their stuff, and
yeah.
I like their stuff. I, want everyone to see their stuff. And as much influence that I do have, I will use that to say, hey, this is a great video, watch it. This is another one, watch it. And I'll bombard everyone that will ever follow me with stuff that I find interesting to watch, because I want these people to continue doing that, because that is my entertainment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what was it like specifically working with them for that sharing nostalgia video collaboratively, asking their opinions, getting their recordings and stuff? How was that experience for you?
It's I'd say it's pretty standard from my perspective. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of reached out to them on Twitter individually and said, hi, first of all, like, I'm going to be making a video again. Haha.
Yeah, surprise.
Surprise. Have you played Final Fantasy VII? Have you played Final Fantasy VII Remake? What was your favorite game growing up? And that was it. And they gave me their answers. And I said, you sound like a great candidate for this video. I would like your perspective.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, damn, I'm down. I was like, okay, cool. How's this date? And then we'll sit down and then we'll record, and they'll just record their audio for me, send it across, and then I'll edit it. It was, I'm going to be honest, it was pretty clinical to a certain extent. And I think that's, I don't know, I find myself very clinical when it comes to these situations. Like, these calls, like, they only lasted about like 15 minutes. They talked for 15 minutes a piece each.
Yeah.
I asked them like 6 or 7 questions. They gave me their takes, and then that was it.
Very nice. And you say that it was quite a clinical procedure. Does that come from your background from being a professional video editor, that you kind of know what to do and how to get it done, and maybe is that why it was a bit more clinical?
How did you know that?
I watched all your videos and wrote down as many questions as I could, and you mentioned it somewhere.
Okay. So actually my background is in, I started off as a filmmaker, so producing, directing, and editing.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of corporate work, I did a lot of creative work, a lot of music videos, a lot of short films and commercials. And when you're in that kind of space, you kind of just learn that, all right, you have a very specific set of questions that you need answers for. You know what kind of answers you want to get, and you ask these questions directed to them. You kind of play your interviewee, I guess, into going into the direction that you want, and then coaxing the right answer. So yeah, and then you listen to what they say, but you listen to it in the way that you would listen when you're editing. So I don't know how familiar you are with like editing, like these. I don't know your process for editing these chats, if you will. But when I'm listening to interviews, I kind of listen to chunks of audio that they do and seeing what like 10 seconds I can take and say, that's like the clip. And then what can I build around it and what story I can form out of it.
Oh, very nice. And is that still your current profession, being working in this creative medium? Is that what you do right now?
So I started off as a filmmaker, and then I progressed into product design. So I kind of, most of my work now is designing stuff for human interaction, like UX, UI. And currently I'm working for a boat company. So that's kind of what I do right now. And then I do have a bunch of like side projects and freelance gigs,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Looking at your YouTube channel, you joined in 2015, late April 2015. Did you ever have a presence before this somewhere else on the channel, like a previous channel somewhere, some older videos, anything like that?
Oh, yeah. About 6 or 7 other channels before this one.
Oh, my. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I joined in 2005 when YouTube started.
Yeah.
And that was because, so, interesting story. My career as a filmmaker started in The Sims 2.
Okay.
So back then, like 2004 was the time when like it was kind of like the pinnacle of this kind of machinima movement. And I don't know how much you know about that.
I remember watching it as a kid, but I was probably too young to understand the behind the scenes of machinima. I just enjoyed their content every now and then.
Yeah. So I wanted to make films, and being like 14, 15 at that time, like no one's going to hire you, no one's going to give you a camera, no one's going to give you anything. And plus I had like no friends, so I didn't have anyone who would act for me. And I didn't have a camera. So I did not know how I was going to pursue this kind of dream that I had for myself with nothing, literally nothing. All I had was like a PC that could barely run any game, let alone whatever I wanted to. And I saw something on the internet about this machine cinema stuff, right? Or aptly now known as machinima. And I was like, damn, this is cool. And people were doing stuff in Quake 2 and obviously Halo with red versus blue.
Yeah.
And this was probably the only time I was ever kind of like active in forums. So I joined a whole bunch of forums like machinima.org and machinima.com and a bunch of other Sims websites. And we would talk all day about this. And I got into like modding The Sims 2 so that we could create all these costumes and characters. And you got to remember, this is 2004, 2005, and all the outfits are outrageously 2004 and 2005. We're talking like My Chemical Romance hairstyles and
oh god, yeah, Green Day,
shit like that. Yep, all of that. And there was all of these people in this Sims forum making like videos, and we were building mods to like do like moving camera angles and stuff, because The Sims 2 changed from being like this isometric game into one where you could free roam the camera around. It was mind blowing at the time. But then you could kind of moving the camera smoothly was a pain in the ass. But there was like macros where you could switch from camera 1 to camera 2 position. And if you slowed down, well, via the mod, slowed down the camera movement to like a crawl, you could do these really cool camera sweeps whilst you program your character to move around and do actions. And so, yeah, that was amazing.
Wow. And were you making like mini documentaries and stuff with The Sims 2 using those camera tricks?
I was making like short films and music videos at the time.
Oh, wow, awesome.
So that was really quite cool. And it was also like a creative expression. Like the videos that I did back then were long, long gone now.
Okay, they didn't live anywhere. They're not hiding somewhere.
If I can find them, I will delete them immediately. One of them was like a music video to Linkin Park's Numb or something like that, and it was literally it was a very literal reenaction of what that song is.
Oh god!
I'm having flashbacks to it. That was very.
It's amazing.
The good thing about having a teenage life before YouTube became a thing is that all of that stuff is long gone, and I've grown up and matured. Like, I feel bad for the current generation of young people who have all their meltdowns and dumb thoughts and ideas, and you have those really cringy thoughts that if you think about what you thought about then, it's kind of like,
god, it makes me feel terrible just to think, oh god, you got them rushing back to me now. Gross. Yeah.
And obviously, you can't hate on young people having these thoughts, because at some point they're going to learn what everything kind of means to a certain extent. But the fact that it's out there, it's kind of being relayed and going viral, and it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I had these same thoughts, but I'm so glad that I was, yeah. So and I joined YouTube in 2005 after this digression.
Yeah, so those poor kids, like, you make mistakes as a kid, but for them it's just immortalized on the internet forever, shared about, and people aren't going to think these are kids, let's forgive them. They're just going to laugh. Those poor bastards. Yeah. Poor bastards.
So the biggest problem that we had back then was that there was no way you could upload a video to playback of this, of certain file sizes or quality or whatever, because we were all working in like 240p.
Oh God, yeah.
Like 480 at the max, if you could render that high. If you leave your computer on for like 3 days to render out Windows Movie Maker.
Yeah.
And so eventually YouTube came and everyone was testing it out. It was just like, oh my God, this could be something where you could host the videos. And we did. And there you go. That's where it is. And then after that, 2010, I started a daily vlog. And I vlogged every day for 5 years without fail.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. And do they still exist, those vlogs, somewhere?
They exist, but they are all private and no one can find them. And to be honest, I think there's more... If you watched it now, you would see basically what amounts to a man falling into a really, really, really bad state.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, the first year was a really kind of like active, upbeat kind of one. The second year I got this job where I ended up becoming like a smuggler. And then this third, fourth, and fifth... Yeah, let's not.
Oh, okay.
I was like a smuggler for like 2 years.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, it's a part of my life that, it's there. And then the third, fourth, and fifth years of those vlogs just kind of saw me fall into a really, really, really deep, dark depression. And I can't believe that people watch that. Like, a couple of thousand people watch that every day.
Mm-hmm.
Just watch me just struggle and suffer. And then, like, at the end of 5 years exactly, I was like, okay,
this is enough now.
I'm out. I've done my part.
And did you have a grand finale, or did you kind of just peter out and it settled away?
It faded out.
It faded
to black.
Yes. Oh dear. Speaking of, you mentioned your depression there. I was watching your video regarding that subject, and you said you suffered from depression since the age of 10. Is that something that still affects you to this day, and have you been coping with it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, depression is like, it's a disease and it doesn't leave you. Mm-hmm. It's always like a part of you. You kind of just have to learn to live with it. And thing is, it's not like, oh no, everything is sad and miserable. It's like everything is numb. Everything is nothing. And yeah, there are a lot of days when everything is just kind of numb and nothing, and you just kind of just don't care anymore. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure this weekend I had one of those moments. Like, it lasted like from Sunday to Monday. And it's, I don't know, it's hard to describe. You kind of just give up.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you kind of just accept it. For some people, it becomes a thing where it kind of just defines them. And that was me for a very long time. I'm very lucky in that my wife is very, very supportive. She will give me the space and the time to kind of like let it happen. And then the next day she'll be just like, sort it the fuck out, and then we'll talk. And
yeah,
it's just like, hey, everything's better now. It's very strange because like not everyone will have that. And that's something that like I'm fortunate in that I have someone that I can lean on and whom can lean on me in those kind of times. Right? Mm-hmm. But not a lot of people have that. And I mean, it's a tough topic because there is no like solution that is universal, right? It's something that
exactly.
Each and every person has to kind of find out for themselves, and it's not an easy process.
No, there's lots of things that go into it. I don't think, personally, I don't think I ever suffered from depression in the way that people think about it, but I have had those long stretches of time where things didn't feel worthwhile in some regards. For me, it was when I was thinking of the big questions of life, kind of having an existential crisis in some regards. Like, for some reason, I still remember it, one day I was thinking about how big the universe was, and that just set off this whole chain of thinking, and where for months I just didn't want to get out of bed properly and do anything because I realized everything was pointless. And
that happens to everyone. Everyone has that moment at some point.
Mm-hmm.
It's that you have the big question and then it fucks you up.
Yeah, and for me, so it's not depression. I'm not going to say that I had depression with those big questions. But for me to get around that is I tried to not think about it. Like, I came to the conclusion that if it is that big and if it is that pointless, then there's no point even thinking about it. I just got to try and get on with my day.
Precisely.
And, I suppose it worked to this point. I don't really think about it much anymore. But yeah, I imagine if you had to feel like that every day with depression, that would just be so exhausting and so tiring.
It is. Oh my God. It's so exhausting.
Yes. And your video you made about Hellblade really opened my eyes into the way that people from depression do suffer, and particularly in that game, the way that it portrays it. Because I did play it for a short time. I played the VR version, actually.
Oh, God.
But I didn't get very far, though, because someone stole my headset, so I don't have VR anymore.
Dude,
I know. Shit.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, everyone was at work, and and someone just kicked down the door and took everything, and just yanked all the electronics and ran away.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it's life. It's just stuff. But joke's on them. I actually had my prescription lenses in my VR headset, so they can't see shit. They'll put it on, and it won't make any sense to them. So that's some respite I have. And they also didn't steal the controllers. I had them dangling on the wall on a hook, and they just didn't take them. Nice. So they got a headset that looks like crap. But in terms of Hellblade, the one thing that I found very interesting was spoilers for Hellblade, by the way, if anyone's listening for this, is the very ending of Hellblade when you're fighting that endless wave of enemies, and you just have to essentially give up. You have to put down the controller and say, I can't do this. It's too much. I found that very, very interesting.
So, as someone who lives with psychosis and like just schizophrenia as a whole, I felt like it was a very strange message to kind of give to the audience. Because, like, on one hand, telling the player who's playing this that you're dealing with this issue, if you will. It's a metaphor at the end of the day, right? The whole game is a metaphor for the life like this.
Yeah.
The end kind of message is you kind of just give into it, which... I don't know. It was a very strange message for me, in that, like, for someone who is living with this, I don't think that's the message that you should take away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's the right one, at the very least. Especially in that, for me personally, every day is a struggle and every day is a fight, and you have to kind of just power through it. And it's not easy. Some days you do want to give up. Some days you do want to just say, nope, I'm done. But it is purely down to your, like a drive, dedication, and discipline, and
Do you think it was an accurate portrayal of depression for that ending, even though it may not have been the best message to get across at the end of a potentially very important game for people who do suffer from depression? Do you think it was an accurate representation?
Not for depression, for psychosis, yes. So I mean, depression and psychosis, two very different things. Depression is that kind of that nothing feeling, with psychosis being like the hallucinations. So Hellblade as a game that kind of depicts these psychotic episodes, I I would say is fairly accurate. In terms of its narrative, it's a bit video gamey,
Yeah.
but as a whole, I think generally, yeah, it is a good representation as to what life like that is like. Obviously, you don't go around like swinging swords everywhere, but
No.
like, I mean, if you are, then you know,
That's
you
pretty bad
definitely need to
psychosis. Yeah.
yeah, you need to seek some like medical help. But generally speaking, yes, having these kind of voices that are constantly around you always. So I mean, most people have like an inner voice, right? You have that kind of inner voice that kind of provides you with self-doubt or self-confidence or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Just a bad idea, and you still do it.
Yeah, but you know that's inside your head.
Yeah.
So with psychosis, it's like external. Like for me, like there's literally like a woman outside my window screaming, and I'm like 7 stories up, so it's impossible. I know it's impossible, but
Yeah.
she's out
Tall
there
woman.
and just constantly there. And then there's like a bunch of like people whispering in the corner of the room and stuff. But you kind of have to learn to just leave them be, and like sometimes you take on what they say, sometimes you don't, and it's just life, I guess. Yeah.
And leaving them be, do they eventually do they fade away after a while of ignoring them?
Sometimes when things are okay. I have a theory that it's kind of all linked very much to like the cortisol levels in your bloodstream.
Okay.
In that, because like so cortisol is what the stress hormone that runs through. You got a lot of that. It produces more adrenaline and so on.
Yeah.
And obviously, the more cortisol you have in your bloodstream, the more kind of that stressed feeling that you get. It's kind of like the fight or flight response before, but like without a need for fight or flight. So that's why we have this immense feeling of stress. And when I'm stressed a lot, they get a lot louder and a lot more intense. And when I'm like chilled, when I'm cool, I mean, for the most part, they're still there, but they're like negligible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a
I mean, I'm not a
particular...
scientist, so like,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
it's based on pure conjecture and personal experience.
And there's one particular question I wanted to ask about the psychosis you described in your videos. Something I never heard before, actually, is you said that some voices, I don't want to quote you from a video from too long ago, but you said that some of the voices you heard have guided you to success. I was wondering what you meant by that and if you could expand on it a little bit, because I've never heard the idea of psychosis being the voices you hear being a positive thing. I've always heard it as being a negative thing.
So, I mean, that's the thing, right? So, I think the easiest example I can use is that, like, when I'm waiting for the train to go to work, there is always, like, voices saying to step forward, closer, take another step forward. It's okay. You'll make it. And so on, right? It's hypnotic, right? And it's constantly pulling you in closer, right? You kind of just feel yourself moving towards it because, you fall for it. But then you have the other ones that are just like, no, step back. It's like, you don't want to do this. So yeah, and they're all external. But like, that's like the easiest example of where there are voices that are kind of like good for you. And then there are ones that are bad for you. Whatever the chemicals in my brain are doing, there's obviously like two very different, and to some extent there are multiple kind of avenues, if you will. And sometimes in more complex kind of situations, like you'll have a voice tell you to do something, and it might be a good thing. And when you're combined with, say, like depression and suicidal thoughts, right? It becomes very hard to trust, or what are you supposed to trust, right? So for me, like, let's say if we cite the example from earlier, like knowing what I wanted my interviewees to kind of like talk about in their interviews, that was very much kind of guided by what I was being told to ask them by these voices. Like, it's kind of like part of who I am. And so, one will literally say, like, ask them about this and ask them about that. Don't forget about that. Right? And to a certain extent, this it's a pretty good kind of advice to get, right?
Mhm.
But when you're in a very kind of like low state and you're having things like suicidal thoughts and whatnot, you have one that's telling you to kind of just like do it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you have one that's telling you no. But when you're in that really low fucking state, you have no idea which one of these kind of avenues is the right one, because you don't know what to trust. Because sometimes these voices are like, they're very helpful, sometimes they're not. And it's a very confusing and very horrible part of living like this.
Hmm. And how complicated are the responses and the thoughts that you have from these hallucinations? For example, like, could you have one voice saying it's probably a good idea to invest in an ETF fund once a month with 10% of your wages, or is it are they rather basic in their speaking?
I mean, it's very basic. It's not like, I've never had any. I mean, I've had ones that have been like telling me like, do something like you should invest your money, like a very kind of simple sentence.
Yeah.
Like a very simple concept that can go on, and then like the conversation expands in very kind of small sentences, right?
And would you talk to them? Like, would it be a back and forth dialogue between you and the hallucination?
Oh no! You start talking to them. That's when you're a crazy person.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh dear. And do you ever develop trust in your hallucinations? I believe that was a phrase you had in your video. I was wondering if that's something that's happened to you. Have you developed trust in them?
I did for a long time. But right now, my focus is like, trust my wife. Because she's a pretty level-headed person, and if I am struggling with something, I kind of just ask her, and then she'll say, no, that's fucking stupid, don't do that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I do appreciate you talking about that subject. I know it must be a very difficult thing to talk about, and you did say in your video when you released it that it's not something that you openly talked about for a very long time. So I do appreciate you taking the time to go through that.
I mean, first of all, you're welcome. Secondly, it's more like there is the kind of inherent stigma, right? Because after telling someone, or at this point, thousands of people, this, where do you go from there, right? Like, it's very kind of awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, now that someone knows this thing about you, you know that they know, and they know that you know that they know.
Yes.
Do you bring it up, or can you make a joke about it? Can you? I mean, I sometimes try to make jokes about it, just to kind of ease it back into it. Then they get nervous about laughing about it, and I'm just like, all right, let's not talk about this. Just leave it.
Yeah. Know your audience, I suppose. And after making that video, have you found that I don't want to say has your life improved, but have you noticed a better quality of life knowing that you can talk about this if you want to?
So outside of like YouTube, I don't talk about it.
No.
Every now and then my wife will ask me if I'm okay. And, if I'm struggling with something, I'll talk to her about it. But I just, the regular people in normal life, they are not prepared to have that kind of conversation. And the thing that separates YouTube life, if you will, the online life, and the life that you have in the real world, is that they are two very different things. On YouTube, people are actively looking to learn and, what's the word? Absorb information and whatnot. And if they learn something about someone, they did it on their own accord, and they're like, okay, I've learned about it, and I want to learn more about it. And, I understand it. And for the most part, people are very empathetic and understanding towards it. However, in real life, there is a much broader scope of people, and those people are like your friends and your family and whatnot. And it's just not something that they really need to know. Or it's not that people don't care or want to help. It's more they have other things to be dealing with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's their priority.
Yeah.
So, I mean, online, yeah. I mean, for the most part, my life has improved a lot since that video.
Yeah.
Like, I met my wife. Like my career has like moved upwards pretty well. I moved into a pretty dope apartment, and it's central London, and I would say that my life is pretty good. Like, life is dope. My kind of next step. Life is dope. Life is great. My kind of next kind of goal or steps in life is to kind of turn the whole YouTube content creation thing into a full-time kind of gig. But that's a very, very difficult task.
Yes.
That takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it really does. And even with I imagine your career right now, you said you made some pretty good advancements. Even with that and being a professional video editor and director and such, you'd still want to go YouTube full-time rather than pursuing your career as it is now?
So here's the thing. In the real world, I am a brown guy.
Okay.
On the internet, no one knows that I'm brown.
Okay.
So there is an inherent level of racism that exists in all of the industries, especially in the filmmaking world, right?
Yeah.
Unless you, especially in England, right? Like in, say, North America, there are more opportunities for someone that looks like me because there is a thriving independent scene. And that independent scene has a lot of kind of support, and especially with the cultural climate right now, there is a lot of kind of push upwards for people, minority ethnics, if you will, to kind of like speak up, which is a very good thing. Here in the United Kingdom, not so much. It is all very systematic. And when I say systematic, I mean that like unless you are following the rules and, can I swear?
Oh, fuck it. Yeah, go for it.
Awesome. Because I know in some video you said that your dad listens and,
he gets
appreciate you.
No. No, he gets bored after 5 minutes because he doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about. So
Okay, fair enough.
After that, he just quits and then he watches the snooker and falls asleep. So he wouldn't have made it this far. Don't worry.
Fair enough. Yeah. So I mean, in the United Kingdom, especially like in the media, entertainment, and technology world, unless you are absolutely like sucking one dick after the other in specific orders, you are not going to get anywhere unless you're going through like absolute brute force. And the brute force is a very kind of rare and very expensive thing to do, and that obviously requires a lot of like inherent like finances and privilege to get there. For me, I'm not a brute force kind of person. I will try and do something great, and if I make it, then that's great. But I'm not going to. But on the other hand, I'm not going to fucking like appease some fucking guy in a very corporate position in order to better myself. And it's just not for me.
And you feel that in the industry you're working in, there's been many opportunities that you have not been able to take because of your ethnic background and the color of your skin?
I mean, so I started off wanting to become an actor, right? And I'm going to tell you now, right? There's only one brown slot every decade. And the other, and that's for like a decent kind of like acting role. And then the other kind of like substitute roles are you get to either be the goofy doctor with the Indian accent, or you get to be a terrorist. And I did at the age of 13, right after like living through 9/11 and going to an all-white school, I was like, you know what? Fuck acting. Fuck acting. You know what? No one's going to put me in their film. I'm just going to make my own. And that's where getting into The Sims 2 goes. This is doing some great kind of like reverting back to earlier parts of the conversation.
That's awesome. So you didn't feel like, casting for 3 Lions or something like that doesn't tickle your fancy?
Oh, you know what's funny? It's like, so Riz Ahmed, star of 4 Lions, and the evil bad boy in Venom, he was an MC before, so he was a rapper. And one of my best friends is also a rapper, and he's doing fairly well, actually.
Yeah.
He and Riz were in a rap battle decades ago, right? Years and years ago. And my mate lost that rap battle to Riz. And Riz is
Oh, no.
where he is right now. Where Riz is kind of like, that's as high as any like brown man has ever been before, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we've had conversations like, if he won that battle, would life have changed? Would his life be any different?
Well, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine what his life would have been like if he won that.
Yeah, I know, right? That's like one of those kind of like moments where if you could go back in time, would you? That's one thing I would like to see changed, like just to see it.
Yeah, yeah. Not kill Hitler, any of that stuff. Go back to the rap battle and and win it.
Killing Hitler that's just he already killed himself, and are you going to go kill a baby?
I've never thought about it like that.
That's such a like. It's like the Thanos question, right? Are you going to kill a baby? No, you can't like punish someone for having not committed a crime.
Yeah. At what point would you kill Hitler?
I don't know. See, that's not for me to decide, right? Like, we know that what he did, and we know that there are some circumstances in his life that led him to this, but I don't think I'm an authority enough to say at what point should someone go back in time and put a bullet in Hitler's head. That's not for that. I don't have that kind of like thing, because to kill someone before they commit the crime, that's immoral, I would say. Yeah,
it's like, what was that film they did about that? Oh God, there was a film about that where they have thought police and they arrest people.
Minority Report.
That's the one. There we go.
Tom Cruise, amazing. Directed by Steven Spielberg.
So good. Yeah, we're turning into Minority
Amazing
Report.
Film, based on the short story by Philip K. Dick.
Oh, I have not read that story. I had to give it a read. Sounds pretty good.
Great.
Well, I do love discussing Hitler. I do have another question for you pertaining to your videos.
Go for it.
In one of your videos, you said, talking about having free time and playing games in your free time, you mentioned you have paid $100 for a game and played it for 5 hours and had the time of your life. I was curious as to what game that was.
I can't even remember now.
My guess is probably like an MMO with all the trimmings.
No.
No?
Now I remember. The Division. Or some Ubisoft game.
Oh, so you like bought the digital deluxe limited edition something, yeah.
Yeah, the gold edition with all the extra bullshit that they throw in, right? I mean, here's the thing, right? Ubisoft gets all the crap in the world, and justifiably so, right? With microtransactions and just like terrible work practices for marginalized people, but they do something really fucking great. They have these simple like technologies within all of their games that they iterate on, and they build upon those. They end up becoming like very kind of tropey stuff. But they do them incredibly. So, Assassin's Creed. I was drawn to Assassin's Creed because, hey, holy shit, there's the first time a brown man's going to be the lead of a game. I guess Prince of Persia was for first, but Assassin's Creed. And it's going to be in a place that's a real place. So, Damascus and Masyaf and, Jerusalem. That wasn't, treated like some back
bomb site.
Yeah. And it's just so it's going to be treated with a certain level of respect, right? So that was cool. And I was like, damn, I'm in. But then they basically invented the Ubisoft Tower, right? So you climb up the tower, you see the area, and it opens up the map. At that time, that was genius, because if you are hiking or if you are going anywhere or if you're lost, find the highest point and you will be able to orient yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone who liked hiking and walking around and who had like done this kind of stuff, whenever I was lost, you just find the highest point and look around, and that is literally what that was. And then they iterated upon that and they improved. And then in like 2013, 14, 15, that kind of period of time, they kind of really, really like nailed cooperative gameplay.
Oh yeah.
And I think it was with Assassin's Creed Unity, but obviously they fucked that game up at the time.
Yes.
Yeah. But then it was like The Division or some other kind of games, and their kind of cooperative gameplay was just amazing. You connect up with a friend, you and your friend can fucking go around and have this kind of up to 4 people doing stuff on this massive world. And you can be in different parts of the world and still be cooperatively playing. It was incredible. And that I love that shit. That is the kind of game that I want. I love cooperative gameplay. Right now, I can't do that anymore because, like, I got to, my wife is my priority. I got to spend time with her, so I can't be sitting around playing, like The Division for like 2-3 hours every evening. Yeah.
My next question for yourself is: would you be able to run us through your kind of creative process? So, let's say you get the idea to make a video. How do you go from idea to final product? What do you kind of do in between?
So generally, I have a kind of dedicated workflow, which is you have the idea, you write out the script, and writing the script is the hardest part. Well, I mean, for the most part, most of the time it is. And you essentially you research on the topic, try and see what everyone else has said about it. So, say you pick a topic on a particular game, you see what everyone else has ever said, about the game, and you read reviews, you read articles. If you can find, scholarly papers, that's even better.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the perfect scenario, right? And then you kind of incorporate that into your script. And when the script is done, there is a second part of that, which is like you sit on it for like 2 or 3 days without doing anything to it. Then you come back and reread it and rewrite it out. And then once that's like completely done, the next thing is to kind of just sit there and read through the entire thing out loud and time. So you can see how long it's going to take you to actually, what the length of the video is actually going to be.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, cool. And then you record it out. I don't have like the best mic setup. So I have like a Blue Yeti, and it's plugged in by USB, and I don't have like any soundproofing or anything in this room. So I kind of just try and get the environment as best as I can, and then I record.
Yeah.
And I spend a bit of time trying to make sure it's clean and listenable. I have the disadvantage of having one of those voices where it's very deep and a lot of the frequencies are very, very low.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of sub bass, and I don't have a lot of high frequencies in my voice. So it's very hard to kind of like mix for. So like when you're mixing audio or like cleaning up of like voiceovers and stuff, they have a lot of presets. And for the most part, like if I applied any of those presets to like 90% of other people's voices, it would work perfectly.
Yeah.
So like when I get my wife to record voiceovers for me, or if I'd like take someone else's audio recordings, I can apply a preset and it cleans them up perfectly, and it's all perfect. It's great. Fantastic. For me, I don't reach into those. I just kind of sound really good and muffled.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get you.
So I have to, there's a lot of work that goes into making me listenable. And I think that was quite noticeable with the Final Fantasy video that I did, which we can talk about a bit later. But so once the audio is done, I will then take that into Premiere. I will lay out all the audio in one big long file, and then I'll chop out all the bad takes, and then I will chop out all the space, and I'll chop out all the breaths, and cut it down as much as possible. And then I will take each chapter, because I write in chapters. So like chapter 1 is this, then it will lead on to chapter 2, which will be about X, and then Y, and then Z. I will separate all the audio into separate sequences and edit one sequence at a time. I generally start with the sequence that requires the least amount of motion graphics or editing. So generally that's like the chapter where I'm talking specifically about the game or the gameplay and nothing else.
Yeah.
Where I can literally just take gameplay, edit it in, make it look all, like tidy, fit it into the beats, and that's those kind of sections done. So prime example was the Final Fantasy video with Remake. You get the footage from Remake, you drop it in wherever you want. When you're talking about Final Fantasy 7, in that chapter, just drop in the footage as it's placed. And then you go into the more difficult sections, so say bits which require a lot of like animation or visual representations of like, concepts or ideas. So then you start kind of planning that out. I don't generally use storyboards because I kind of have it in my head what I want and I don't need anyone else to work on it. On occasion, I will put it down in storyboards just for myself, but most of the time I don't. And say like the sequence where I'm talking about how neurons work within the brain, I will, animate it. First I'll model a neuron, then I will build out the scene in After Effects, and then I'll animate the scene, and then export that out, dump it in where I need it, and then work on the next kind of shot, if you will, and just chug along, I guess.
And do you ever work on multiple projects at the same time, or are you 100% focused on one thing and that's the way you do it?
My general rule is you will only succeed at what you put your focus on. So, and you can apply that to anything in life, right? If you literally anything, pick anything that you want to do in life. If you focus on it, you will succeed at it, but it requires all of your focus. So if you decide that you need a new job, and if you're only half looking for a job, like you send a few applications here and there, you're not going to get anywhere.
No.
Right? It's going to be a pain. However, if you take the month or 2 months it takes to do all the interviews and focus on, reaching out to recruiters or to, applying to these jobs and making it your priority, your focus, that is what you succeed at. And you can apply that same logic to anything. Like say fitness, for example. After the Hellblade video, I went on like a fitness, like, I don't know what the word is, like extreme hype kind of thing.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of weight in a lot of time, in a very short time. That's because like my focus was just to lose weight, and I worked out 3 times a day, every day, without fail.
Oh God.
I was burning like 7,000 calories a day. It was disgusting. I
mental.
mean, by the end of it, I came out pretty much anorexic at that point. But the goal was to lose weight. And if you focus at it, you will do it. So, and when you apply that logic to things of a less of extreme nature, so say like making a video, if you focus on making one video to be as best as it can, you will make a great video. So yeah, I am currently in the process of making the mistake of not focusing on that. So I'm currently working on 2 videos. One is a like 40-minute epic on Bloodborne.
Okay. Oh, nice.
And the other is a much shorter video, which is about 6.5 minutes, and that is about visual perception. The Bloodborne video is kind of crushing me at the moment in that it's very intense, it's very deep. Because there's no like photo mode in Bloodborne, I can't exactly do any kind of like cool scenery and stuff, like scenic shots or whatever to use for graphics. So I have resorted to rebuilding out the levels and environments of the game in Unreal Engine.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, fuck it, just rebuild the game.
Yeah.
Just why the fuck not? I mean,
God, yeah,
I'm already like making my own music for the game, for these videos, so I may as well just fucking rebuild the game. Fuck it, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, right.
Good. I'll just rebuild the game. Yeah, fuck it. Yeah.
So I mean, just make the game from scratch, whatever. And yeah. So that's so the Bloodborne video is crushing me at the moment, and I asked my patrons if I should carry on like focusing on that, because creatively it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, I know I'm going to be very happy with it when it's finished. It's also a really heavy topic as well. So it's about Bloodborne and femininity and how Bloodborne is a game that, yeah, it's a like, dude, this is a hardcore topic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do not know how it's going to be taken, because it is one of those things that I feel like no one has talked about yet.
Yeah, it's not what crosses my mind when I think about Bloodborne. I'm not going to lie. So I'm interested to you'll take that.
I know. And I mean, part of the reason is because like Bloodborne is clickbait. You put Bloodborne in your video.
Oh god, yeah. Lap it up.
Straight up clickbait. Exactly.
Ghost of Tsushima or whatever it's called. Put that in there right now.
No, not even that. Like Ghost of Tsushima is like, that is a current hype train game. All right, it's cool. It's really interesting. It's visually amazing. It's a samurai game, but it's a flavor of the month. You know? Same with Last of Us Part 2. That is a flavor. Like no one's talking about Last of Us Part 2 like currently. They're talking about.
Oh no, that's died down now. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a flavor of the month thing. Whereas like Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Sekiro to a certain extent, but not as high as much.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. I mean, yeah, that's a clickbait. Like you make anything about Metal Gear, people love that.
Yeah, lap it up.
There is such an abundance of content about Bloodborne and Dark Souls. I'm pretty sure everyone and their mother has made a video about like Dark Souls and depression.
Yes.
Like, holy God. Like we get it. Oh my God, you conquered your depression with it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything else about this game that you could talk about? Well,
feminism apparently.
Oh, Bloodborne. Oh, mate. You know what? I'm just going to send you the script. I just want you to see it for yourself. Because it's going to take a while for me to make. But yeah, so that's a struggle at the moment. I'm taking a break from that to work on something smaller.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. And looking at your videos that you have on your channel now, the last one you released was about 3 weeks or so ago. You were sharing nostalgia with Final Fantasy. And then before that, it was 2 years ago with Hellblade. That's quite a big gap in between those two videos. Was there a reason for that extended break?
Real life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So obviously YouTube isn't like my job. It's not a full-time thing. I would like it to be, but it's not. So when I started, I made a video about some game that I played, which was cerebrally cool, but like delivered in a poor way. So 1979 Revolution, Black Friday.
Yeah.
And no one was talking about it, so I thought I might as well say something. And then I naturally progressed into talking about like relaxing games because that's the kind of games that I wanted to play. So I talked about that, and then I progressed into walking simulators and kind of talking about how they're made and why they're made, and kind of leaned into that. And then a lot of those games kind of talked about like depression, right? And that's when I did depression and video games, and that was kind of like the big hit.
Yeah, that's when it started to take off, would you say?
Yeah. And then I made the Metal Gear one because I thought I didn't want to make another big video. I just wanted to make something that I wanted to make about something that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm honest, a lot of the videos that I make are about games I don't like.
Yeah.
But with a positive spin.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like 1979 Revolution Black Friday. It's an awful title. It's a terrible game. It's like a really bad Telltale ripoff.
Yeah.
But the premise of telling a story from a time and period and a place that no one else is doing. Like, we have plenty of Viking games. We have plenty of, like, American war games. We have a lot of, the samurai-inspired games. Like, there is plenty of those, but there is so much in this world and so many stories and so many aesthetics and so many, environments that we can explore that aren't in mainstream games. And it's the indie space that's doing it. But, like, let's see some more of this world, So yeah, I hate that game. The relaxing games is probably the only one that I do kind of enjoy, but it mostly is to talk about. It's a bitch about how the relaxing game tag on Steam was wrong because they put like Dear Esther in it. I was like, no, Dear Esther is not relaxing. You have to think about that game.
Yes,
that's not relaxation. And then I did walking simulators, and I don't like Firewatch, I don't like Dear Esther, I don't like Gone Home, and for what they do is very important for the cultural blah 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 video games. It's very important. Yes. I accept that they exist. And,
is that the next video, the third one?
Yeah. And then like depression in video games. I was talking about Night in the Woods, which again, very important game, but I really hate that game.
Yes.
And I hate May as a character. And
she was annoying.
Here's the thing, right? I know a lot of people who relate to May, and when I gave my first initial opinion about, like, you know, May, I was just like, listen, if I knew who May was in real life, as in, like, as a person, I would, like, cross the street in the other direction. Because that's just the person I just don't like. The only person that I kind of relate to in that game is Bee, you know, the alligator-looking girl.
Yeah, the badass one.
Yeah, like, I relate to her struggle, right? And I guess that was kind of cool for me. But, like, and I get that other people relate to May, and I get that people get upset when I say that May is just someone I detest as a human being.
Yes, just too on the nose, I think. Just way too out there, edgy, just really annoying. Like, I wouldn't want to speak to that person either.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess that's the point, right? That's the point of the game. And I also don't like the ending. That was just like, they had so much going in the right direction, and then they fucked it up with this whole, like, oh, there's some eldritch monster. It's like, what?
Yeah, some weird cult underground.
It's like the whole fucking Hellblade thing again. It's like, what is it with games about, like, mental health where they end up fucking blaming it on some dumb thing that, no, that is not the message you're supposed to be saying. Like, yes, this entire town is depressed and lost and whatnot, but don't. We're talking about Night in the Woods. Like, how is it the fault of this eldritch monster that lives below the fucking town? No, it's because fucking there's these other. Oh my god, never mind.
I know. Yeah, it lost its potential a lot in that regard. They could have told like a genuinely good story about finding yourself and growing up in a small town and making wrong decisions in some sense, but nope, it's a video game, so they had to change the ending, didn't they?
Yeah.
God.
And then Metal Gear Solid is, you know, I guess I like that game, so fine.
Oh, I love Metal Gear Solid. I've speaking of the art of Metal Gear Solid, back home in the UK, I have a book about the art of Metal Gear Solid.
That was the inspiration for the video.
Oh, you got it as well. Okay, we probably got the same book, I imagine. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. And one of my tattoo, partially inspired by Metal Gear Solid as well.
Nice.
Which is not the same art style, but it's D-Dog playing a video game with a Grim Reaper.
Dope.
It's a bit silly, but I like it.
So actually, the current video that I'm working on, the visual perception one, it's very much inspired by Metal Gear Solid 3, but that's you need to watch it to experience it, kind of thing.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to.
Hopefully that'll be done pretty soon. I'm currently in the process of writing the music for it.
Wow. So you make the music, is that like all computerized, or is it recording actual instruments that you're playing, or what's your process of making that music?
It's all digital. So I decided with the Final Fantasy video that I wanted to make remixes of the original soundtrack, because the original soundtrack is amazing.
Yeah.
And like, it's iconic, right? And even just playing like some of those songs, you can really grab someone with some nostalgia. You can really like. And I guess that was the point with the video, right?
Yes.
But and I noticed that a lot of YouTubers use the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack in their videos. Like, if you watch a lot of Nakey Jakey videos, you'll like, it's just there. There is always like some Final Fantasy VII song in any video in the background, which is cool. But I didn't want to do that. So I thought, there's been this huge kind of like community of people who like made remixes of Final Fantasy VII music, and I thought, fuck it, I'm just gonna make an entire album of music. So that's what I did, and it's all like done on the computer. Like, I have a MIDI keyboard. It's like a small MIDI keyboard that I use to play out melodies if need be and whatever. I mean, each song has its own process, depending on what kind of thing that you're going for. The mistake that I made with the Final Fantasy video was that I didn't mix the audio, which, again, like I said, we're going to return back to this topic somehow. You're great at this chat shit. So yeah, I fucked up with that video in that, like, I mixed it wrong, and that was because I mixed it the way that you would mix it, the audio, that is the voiceover and the music combined, if my voice was normal. And because I can hear my voice when I'm playing it through, I know what it sounds like. But I did not account for the fact that other people can't hear me.
Yeah.
So I drowned out my own voice, and that was a massive mistake on my part.
Those lower frequencies getting drowned out by the music.
Drowned out by the kick drums, the sub bass, the leads and whatnot, and like, so generally speaking, especially when you're producing music, right? Most singers and musicians sing very kind of high, so they'll be like in that kind of range, and then like the music and instrumentation around it will be in, so like the sub bass and the drums will be in the lower frequency, and then like the higher kind of notes and the things will be in the mid and the top, but there'll always be space at the top, and that's generally how you produce music. So if I were to become a professional singer and someone were to produce music for me, they would have to kind of reverse that, and it would sound more kind of like Depeche Mode, I guess, because like he has a very kind of low voice as well, but it's not a very common way to sing.
No.
And I tend to, when I'm editing videos to music, or producing the music and the video as well, I tend to kind of do both at the same time.
Okay.
So yeah, so I mean, I'm sure like you may have like interviewed a bunch of people before, and so like they'll either like edit their whole video and then they'll dump music below it just to kind of get the mood right, or they will put the music down first, put their voiceover to kind of match and get that tone, or whichever kind of like mood that they go for. It depends on how they value and interpret their music and their videos. For me, obviously. Sorry,
yeah. So there's lots of different ways. Like most people I've spoken to do it your way, where it's kind of get the script, edit it, read it through, make adjustments, record the voice. I know Mandalore Gaming just ad libs it. He doesn't have a script. He just goes for it, and it somehow works. Which I don't know how he does that. He just sits there and does it. He sent me a picture of his room, his recording studio, and he's just stapled foam to the wall behind his computer to stop echoing.
That is literally how I did it back in my parents' house when I was living there.
Oh God! And I believe I spoke to GameScore Fanfare on Tuesday. Actually, that's the video that's coming out.
I love Matt. Oh my God.
Great guy. Super awesome.
I love that guy.
He's very nice. The video's out tomorrow, actually, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Nice. I mean, I don't know why you're promoting it here in a video that's coming after.
It was out last week. 6 p.m. There you go. Go find it on the channel. And his stuff revolves around music all the time. So, he's probably focusing on the music more. What actually surprised me very much so is I had all these questions written out for this guy. And my first question was like, okay, you're doing GameScore Fanfare. What's your experience with music? You're a professional musician? And he goes, no, I played the trombone for a bit in secondary school. But besides that, no.
I asked him the same thing. Oh my God. He doesn't know a thing. Like, he knows some basics. He knows what C, D, E, F, G, A, B is.
Yeah,
like,
face spells the gaps in the...
Exactly. And I was just like, are you serious? I thought he was like some music theory nerd. But he plays it off real nice. Like, when you talk to him, he's the nicest guy on earth. But really, God, yeah. The guy's a psychopath. He's hoodwinked us all. Like, he knew.
Yeah. The ultimate ruse.
You know what the worst thing is? Oh my God. So throughout the entire soundtrack for the Sharing Nostalgia video, right?
Yep.
I needed something to kind of like hit the nostalgia for anyone who was actually listening to the music.
Yeah.
And I watched one of Matt's videos, GameScore Fanfare. I watched one of his videos and about Final Fantasy, and he talks about how the prelude sound, and then when you use the prelude sound and then it leans into something else or some other thing, and every one of the Final Fantasy games has that. And purely based on that video, I included the prelude sound and incorporated it in all of my compositions and rearrangements of the music, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all the way through it. And then I talked to him, and he's just like, yeah, he has no like music theory background. He's not a musician. I'm just like, I trusted you.
Oh god, you influenced the whole video.
I know. What a guy. My entire process.
Yeah. Oh god, incredible, absolutely incredible. I find it very interesting how you've come across these problems and how you're solving them. Like the music, you're like, no, I just make my own music, or I just rebuild Bloodborne in Unreal Engine. It's incredible how many different pies you got your fingers in when you're making your videos.
It's more about like we're in the most democratic age of technology ever, right?
Yeah.
If you want to make a game, you can make a game. Everything that you need is there, right? Like the Unreal Engine is free to use. Download it, you install it. Everything that if you want to learn it, there are thousands and thousands of videos on YouTube to learn how to make games there. And all you have to do is just kind of, again, focus and put your time and attention towards it. And you can learn the things that you want to learn, like learning how to either script in C++, which I would not recommend ever.
No, God,
or use,
if
or,
then
or
else.
Yeah. Exactly. Or use the Blueprint engine, which is amazing. If you want to learn to like 3D model, Blender is free. And even the stuff that isn't free, it's not inaccessible. And it's the same with like video editing, right? There is so much software, so many tutorials, so many things that you can use and do to create whatever it is you want to make. I mean, I purely make video game videos on the fact that I have all these video games. I can record these video games. And I have a microphone. I can talk about these video games and make a video. I don't need a person to talk to a camera for me. I don't need a camera. I don't need anything else but literally a 100-centimeter desk and the peripherals on top of it to create a career, essentially. And it is all there. So, and it's the same with music. It's the same with art. It's the same with literally so many things. And yeah, and like there are always going to be things that are blocking you from achieving whatever goal that it is that you want to do, but you can absorb those skills, you can learn them, and everything is about learning, right? So I guess it's down to how much you want to learn. Like I want to make a game at some point, right? I would love to. It's going to take a lot of time and effort, but like I guess based on what I learn in Unreal Engine while I'm rebuilding Bloodborne from scratch, dear Lord, when I do that, I will have amassed plenty of knowledge that will help me to go through this process.
Oh God,
maybe I'll find someone who knows a bit more than I do, and then you can collaborate, and then move forward like that.
Yeah, so it's all about doing and getting stuck in. Like when I try to do some minor video editing, the first thing I do is, okay, YouTube, how to blank in After Effects, and then I find it. Well, no, I don't find it. I get the thing wrong because I don't know how to word it properly. Then I find it, and then I find out there's an error for some reason, and I try and find out what the error is. But eventually the end point is actually sitting down and doing it. You will get to your goal. But it's that sitting down and doing it, which is the thing that stops like 95% of people, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just down to the individual, really. If you want to do something, you will.
Yeah, for me as well, I find that I get very distracted quite easily, and maybe most people get distracted as well. I'm considering even just downgrading to like a flip phone to stop using my phone for pointless crap like Reddit and, I don't know, chatting with friends and stuff, and just get rid of the damn thing. Like similar to you, I went on a bit of a fitness binge for a while. For about 1 year, I was super hardcore into losing weight. And for me, it's if the distractions and the things I shouldn't be doing aren't there, then I can't do it. Like a lot of people try to lose weight and they get to the point where they say, okay, I should eat healthy. But you got to kind of take it back a step and say, I shouldn't buy unhealthy things. And that makes it so much easier because you can't eat junk food if you don't buy it. Do you know what I mean?
Precisely. That's you have to find the things that are actually causing the problems.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm yet to downgrade, to be honest. I'm still on my Samsung, but maybe I'll get a little Nokia flip phone. Who knows? We will see.
I mean, you walk around with one of those, people are going to think you're a drug dealer.
Yeah, or a smuggler. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
looking back at the videos you've made over the past 3 years, is there one that you're most proud of? And with that said, is there one that you wished did better than it actually did?
My favorite video is the Art of Metal Gear Solid, purely because that is a visual treat. It's the most kind of like Captain Christian-esque video.
I love that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So like Captain Christian is very kind of stylish, and I assume that his pronouns are he. Their videos are very much like it appears to be a single take, right? It's like a very smooth, free-flowing kind of thing, and it kind of leads you in this direction, which is what I wanted all of my videos to be. But they're not going to be like that just based on how I write, and it's it's fine. But that's the one that kind of goes with that single, clean, flowing thing, and it's not broken down into chapters, and it's not.
Yeah.
It just goes from one thing to another. It's like water, I guess. In fact, to be honest, it's more kind of like the style of Yoji Shinkai, which is it kind of just free flows and it becomes the final piece, which I guess is what I was trying to emulate there through the video. So that's the one I'm most kind of proud of. But then I am also very proud of the Final Fantasy one, purely because as a technical feat, it's the longest video I've done. It's got the most, it's got interviews with 6-7 people.
Yeah, a whole bunch.
Yeah, a whole bunch of people with different voices and balancing them out. And plus, I did the music for it. And probably the first time I played a 50-hour game, and then my wife played the original, which is again another 50-hour game, for this video. So that was that. And so that one, yeah, I wish that did a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, it's still early days compared to the other ones that are years old.
Yeah. But I mean, so like the other videos, they had like huge, like first day is always like big numbers, and then they kind of like tail off, but they always maintain a steady kind of thing because the SEO for these videos are really kind of like well done.
Yeah.
And so they kind of maintain a level of viewership. But the Final Fantasy one was more of a, oh my god, Sid's back, and then just dropped off. And that's not like anyone's fault but my own, for one, fucking up the video the first time and then re-uploading it, but also because I had just been gone for so long.
And what happened with that first upload? Because I only saw the re-upload. I missed the original.
No, you saw the good one then. Basically, the audio was mixed badly, like I said earlier.
Oh, okay, it was the audio. Okay.
Yeah, the audio was mixed poorly. Yeah. So that, I mean, the depression one is probably, I mean, I'd say I'm proud of the depression one, in that, like, it helped a lot of people. I mean, so they say. It helped quite a lot of people, and it followed the kind of ethos that I wanted for my videos, in that, like, I needed to be informative and at the same time kind of like respect the audience. So instead of and looking at things from multiple viewpoints, and I think that's kind of something that I'd like to do in what I work on, because I don't, like, everything is subjective, right? There's no such thing as an objective of review or opinion or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There are some facts, like this is a game, and that is about as far as you can really go with it, right? As far as objective. Yes. But if you're going to do something subjective, make the subjective opinions valuable by looking at it from other opinions, right?
Yeah.
And incorporating that somehow. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with that. And yeah, it worked out.
And with those videos for the depression and the Hellblade, living with psychosis videos you made, at the end you do say, if you need someone to speak to, get in contact with me. Did you find that many people were reaching out to you for assistance with some struggles that they were having?
Oh, brother. There is a reason as to why I did not make a video for a long time. And that's because I was... So I would get... So, you know, on Discord, it tells you how many notifications you have.
Yeah.
So pretty much every day I would have about 200 like new chats every day. So they would come to the Discord server and they would message me, and I would respond to every single one of these every single day, hours on end. And then they would turn into phone calls, and like some people were going through some really dark times, like awful periods of the time. I mean, like there have been more than one occasion where I've had to talk someone down off a ledge.
Oh God.
Yeah, so I mean, I did like. There are a lot of people suffering. There's a lot of people dealing with stuff, and I think one of the gripes that I have with content creators, in general, not like specifically, but in general, is that like obviously the topic of mental health is a very important one. It's also a very kind of easy to clickbait one, right? Like you put depression or mental health or mindfulness in your title or thumbnail and you'll get hits. Like people are searching for answers and they are struggling, but then and sharing your personal stories is a good thing. It helps normalize the struggles that everyone is feeling on a daily basis and helping people realize that they are not alone. That is one of the key things. But then when you throw in, like, if you are struggling, call this number in this country and this number in that country, or if you're going to be real cheap about it, just like the numbers for your local suicide hotline are in the comment description box. First of all, no one's going to go there to fucking look for a number if they're feeling suicidal after watching your video. If they're feeling suicidal after your video, you got a problem with your video.
Yes, God, yeah.
Right? That's the first problem that you're dealing with. Second,
God. Criteria, Jesus God.
That's the first problem.
Yeah.
But if they're, so that's the thing. So like, everyone knows that these numbers exist, right? Especially if you're suicide, you know it. Everyone's been telling you this, and for the most part, you have trying to be reaching out, but no one's giving you the time or attention or care. And I have tried to call these numbers before in my own periods of time, and like I've called and sometimes there's just no answer because these services are inundated. And I think the one thing that I wanted to kind of embody is that like there are human beings out there. There are like friends and family, and well, maybe not so much family, but like just friends and people and sometimes strangers who care. Like having these horrible thoughts, these feelings sucks. And then if you are feeling that, for one, I don't want you to feel like that. And if you have found any kind of like trust in me after watching this 25-minute video describing the struggles that myself, other people that I know and like statistics say, and you found some kind of kinship through this, I will do my best to talk to you. I'm not like, the best qualified person for this. I am like, I guess I am a qualified like counselor, but at the same time, like I'm doing this for free. Like I have to like make a living and whatnot. And whatever time I had when I was doing that, I would give just so I can, help as much as possible. And a lot of the people who came to me knew that I was being inundated, but at the same time, they just needed someone to listen. Someone to just care
somebody
for a few. Yeah. Like, I mean, the different, like, one example, there was this girl, she was about like 15, 16 or something, and she was also suffering from psychosis, and she reached out and calmed her down, eased her out of it and whatnot. And then one day out of the blue, she fucking messages and says, "Hi, I'm coming over to England. Can we meet?" And I was like, "No, fuck off. That ain't happening. You can if you bring your parents, yeah, sure."
Yeah.
And she says, "Yeah, my parents are coming as well." I was like, "All right, fine. Like, so long as your parents are there."
Yeah.
And so so I met her parents, and her parents, like, they met me, and then they fucking burst into tears, and her mother, like, started kissing my hand and shit.
Oh, God.
And just, like, thanking me for, like, helping their daughter and stuff. And that was the weirdest fucking experience.
That's insane.
That's the thing. These are real people, and real people like suffer, and they just need someone to like give a shit and understand, just for a little bit of time. And you can give someone like an hour of your time just to like care, not to judge, just not to even give them a solution or an answer. They just want to like know that they exist. That's what it comes down to. They just want to know that their existence matters, even for an hour, to someone that makes so much of a difference, dude.
God, that's incredible.
Because I know I needed that.
Yeah, and that came from your wife, from what we can tell here.
No, I get that all now. Like that woman loves the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And I love the shit out of her. She's fucking great.
Giving you the thumbs up as we speak.
Oh no, she wants to go to bed. She's tired.
Oh dear. Okay, well, I won't keep you much longer then. To finish off then, there's kind of one thing I just wanted to ask. On your Twitter, you posted recently that you've gone quite a while without smoking. How has that been for you, quitting smoking?
I hate not smoking. There's a secret to this voice, and that is from... I mean, not that I promote such an idea, but that is how you get it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope it
without...
it doesn't affect your raspy voice.
Yeah. No, I mean, so the first 3 weeks are the hardest, right? So because that's when the nicotine is still in your bloodstream and you're jumping out of habits. But obviously, the pandemic kind of helped in that, like, there's nothing, there's the only reason I would like go outside is to go to the store to buy cigarettes, and if you can avoid doing that, that's like one habit, which is to go outside for the sake of cigarettes and breaking out of it. So it's a lot of like, again, it comes down to focus, right? My focus was to quit smoking. I was a moody bitch for a very long time, and again, it's like an addiction, right? And it's not as big of an addiction as, say, like heroin or cocaine or something. No. But it's still an addiction, and it comes down. It's a desire for something that will give you respite, and sometimes I'm just stressed, and I'm just like, oh man, I could do with a smoke, and it would help. And I think what it really comes down to is I just want to go out, get some air for like 5 minutes, just think about nothing, clear my head, release some endorphins in my brain, come back to work and get shit done. But like, you can still do that, but
without buying cigarettes.
Yeah.
So is that what you did? You kind of just, when you wanted to smoke, you'd go stand outside 5 minutes like you were smoking, but then not actually smoking, and come back in?
I'd just stand on the balcony, look outside for a couple of minutes, come back, it's done.
That's awesome. Well, I don't want to keep you and your wife from your bedtime for too much longer, so I feel like we'll end it there, Sid. It's been an absolute pleasure, it truly has, and I really do appreciate you talking about all those subjects, particularly with the mental health issues. I feel like it's such an important thing, and opening up about that it really does help people, like you say. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much for having me.